Okay. Hello to the people logging on. I'm Alan Holt, one of the meteorologists on staff here at KIII TV3, Corpus Christi, Texas. The time, 7:35. It is May the 8th. It's a Thursday. And we are anticipating the arrival of some thunderstorms tonight. Some of them may be severe. So this is going to be a really off-the-cuff, loose type of format, and I'm going to be on here for a while, probably right up until our 10 o'clock broadcast. So it could be, 2 hours that I'm sitting here just watching how these storms roll through. But we have the capability to stream live, so why not? Why not give the long format coverage its due while we've got storms moving in? Before we get started, if you have not already downloaded 3 News Plus, it's free and you can stream it right to your TV. So instead of looking at the little stuff on the phone, maybe you can't see everything, you can see it on your TV as if you were watching something, live, real time. It is live, it is real time, but you can see a lot better on that format. So 3 News Plus, again, it's free. You can watch it on a much larger screen than the little phone. I can't even see the cities on the phone when I'm just looking at it that way. But right now, nothing severe in the KIII viewing area. I'm going to switch modes here. So if you're watching, I'm just going to share with you what I'm doing. When I look at the camera, I can't see what's on the radar. I'm looking at a lens. When I look down here, I'm seeing what's on the radar and I can effectively talk about it. So that's why my eyes will kind of bounce up to the cam and back down to the radar screen so I can tell you what it is we're seeing. And I prefer to be off to the side like this just so there is a human talking and who that human is. I think that's important when talking about potentially more hazardous types of storm outlooks. So we'll start in the coastal bend and the KIII viewing area between southern Live Oak County and Skidmore, southern B County. There are some areas of pretty heavy rain, and this is coming off of an outflow boundary from storms to our north. I will just scrub the radar back and forth and just point that feature out. So you'll see this line here. That's the line that as it moves south, it's outflow, and it helps trigger the activity that's ongoing in places like Skidmore. There is a lot of lightning in there. You see all the lightning strikes around the Skidmore area. And we'll see if there's any small hail. This is not a warned cell, but there may be some pea-sized hail in there. So you see the darker grays showing up right there around the Skidmore area where the lightning is. There may be some pea-sized hail. We're talking less than a ½ inch in diameter, so not very big there. We'll go back to the radar map. We'll just keep it right now. So that rain is also fairly heavy. There's some heavy rain falling in those locations. We also have a flash flood warning in extreme northern Refugio County, which does include the Highway 77 corridor en route to Victoria. So if you're traveling out there, it's not raining currently, but there may be some ponded water on 77 and the adjacent roads off of that roadway, that highway. So that's of note. Just wanted to make sure we covered that. This is where that flash flood warning is in effect for another 20 minutes out in northern Refugio County. And you know, that's going to expire roughly 20 minutes from right now. It's 7:40. So that is local. Now we're looking at the storms that are, you know, approaching Laredo. Some of it's already approaching Tilden in McMullen County. And this is looking to my eye like it wants to become one unit. These storms will probably merge as they move into the coastal bend. The storm north of Laredo right now is severe warned. There is a lot of wind in that cell, and it is warned for 60-mile-per-hour wind and 1 1/4 inch hail. We'll look at that storm here a little. The one thing I don't like about the storms that are way out to the west near Laredo is that we're hitting those storms on our radar in Corpus Christi. Just show you, just, you know, this is what we deal with here. So there's the radar site in Corpus Christi. We're looking 120 miles away, right? And the problem with that is as the radar beam goes up and away from the source, which is out at the Corpus Christi International Airport, that beam isn't traveling just parallel to the Earth's surface the whole way. It's got a little tilt of 0.5 degrees up. So by the time it gets to that storm out, you know, in Webb County, near the I-35 corridor, that radar beam is sampling the storm at 14,000 feet up in the atmosphere. So it's not the best situation. The radar coverage out in Laredo is non-existent in terms of the National Weather Service radar sites. And, you know, that's what we've got to work with here at KIII TV. The closest sites are Corpus Christi, Del Rio, New Braunfels, Houston, and then down in Brownsville. So that storm is warned for 60-mile-per-hour winds and 1 inch hail. It is moving to the east at 35 miles per hour. So as we look at the setup here, the storms that will be of most importance in terms of possibly becoming strong or severe are these out to our west. And they're coming in a little bit ahead of you know, what some of the guidance was indicating leading up to this. So the timeline's going to be maybe an hour or two quicker than what we were originally saying. And that's why, you know, I had this buffer on the timeline for the strong stuff between about 9 and 2 a.m. So it's still going to be roughly within that window of time that these start to move into the coastal bend, but probably more so on the earlier end of that. I don't think it's going to take till 2 a.m. for these storms to push off the coast, because if they're moving at, well, let's just do it real time. I'll just walk you through the process and we'll just explain it all. I've got unlimited time here. So we'll just put this on now. I'm going to put the lightning strikes on so you can see where the stronger stuff is. And I am going to just see how far they move in 1 hour's time. So that's 1 hour ago. I'm going to put a little arrow at the leading edge of the storm. That is right now. Okay, I would say 35 miles an hour. That's what it's warned for. That's good. The warning is accurate with respect to the motion and the speed that this is moving. So, given that movement, let's just see how quick that would get to the coast and everywhere between where they currently are. So we'll just make a line. and extend it all the way to the coast. And there's your rough estimate. There is the rough oh wait, nope, that is not. I'm going to delete that. It's not. I forgot to set the time on that. That was at 20 miles per hour. I got to tell it, hey, it's going 35. We're not in a school zone here. Going 35 miles per hour now. So let me do it again. Time it out at 35 miles per hour. And see where that puts us. Okay, here's the time now. So we've got Freer, 8:15. So in about 30 minutes for Freer on this organizing line of storms. Alice, an hour after that, 9:15 in Alice. Sinton, 9:45 or so in Sinton. And again, this is all based on the current movement of these storms. I will say that it's not possible to exactly say how strong or weak these are going to be. I'm strictly focused on timing this out based on the current movement. So Sinton, 9:45, Kingsville around 10, Corpus Christi at 10 o'clock hour, 10:15 or so. And then at the beach, Port Aransas before 11, 10:40. So, you know, it's going to be coming in before midnight. If you've got friends or something, you know, let's say out at, what time does the Buck Days Carnival close? Does anybody know? I'm trying to shout. I don't know off that, maybe 10. But if you're, what I'm trying to say is if you're out 9, 10 o'clock, you're doing something outside, you know, be sure you've got a way to get to shelter if you have to react to a storm coming in. So that's the timeline, you know, rough estimate for the current movement of these storms. And very often in May, you know, we'll get these lined up and then march right through the area. I want to look at the hail now, if there is some hail in there. See what our hail tracking product is looking like. So it doesn't look like a lot. It doesn't look like a lot out there right now. But again, just to reiterate, we're not getting the best data because it's so far away from the radar. So hail currently doesn't look like a huge issue, but there are probably hailstones in this thing. You know, it's half-inch hail. And I'll periodically, you know, check. I'm like looking at phones, getting updates, getting texts, just to make sure I'm keeping up with everything as well and not getting lost in all the coverage. So yeah, that's the hail out there. Again, that's not in the KIII viewing area yet. But we've got two distinct thunderstorms right now. One of them is in McMullen County. The other one is in Webb County, out by Laredo. Okay. And I'm watching these two storms to see if they can connect. You know, just become a more unified front, so to speak. Right now, they're somewhat discrete. Discrete meaning they're individual. But if they can become connected with one another, you know, and you start getting more of a squall line or bow echo type formation, that could raise the wind speed threat. So that's why I'm paying attention to how that evolves. Out ahead of this, we've got storms, a lot of lightning too, around the Skidmore area. See Skidmore there showing up on the map. Heavy rain as well, falling between Beeville and Sinton and that is on the 181 corridor. You see 181 show up on the map there. So that's not a fun drive right now. If you're driving on 181 in southern B County, it's heavy rain that you're getting. Walk you through the Futurecast. So, that's at 750 right there. Well, I'm just going to pull our Futurecast in-house modeling up to show you how it handles our current situation. And, you see there, you know what, I'm going to just force this to be accurate on the time. So I'm overriding the model to make it line up with the time that we're in right now. So these storms are out west of us. That's probably a good spot right now for where they're at. So I'm making it so the model understands the accurate placement of the storm so we can work off of that moving forward. So 750 right now, this is now the model at 8 o'clock. And we'll just show you how it handles the progression eastward toward the coast on these storms. So our in-house modeling does make the storms congealed, more uniform, a single line, and you'll see that bowing look to the simulated radar. This right here, if that played out like so, there would probably be some pretty strong winds through Benavides. It's that apex of the reverse C on the bowing look that often will have the worst wind speeds. So that will continue to move toward the coast and in Corpus Christi around 11. Again, this is according to the model. And on our modeling, it kind of looks like, the top end of this gets a little weaker while the southern half of it remains more robust. I'm not saying it happens exactly like that. When you have severe weather, you have to just watch what the current radar trends are showing us. This is just simulated radar. So for example, if you have an app on your phone that shows future radar, all you're getting is model data from whatever that app is pulling from. It doesn't mean it plays out just like that. It's just an idea of what to expect. But this should be offshore by around 2 o'clock or so in the morning tomorrow. And then it's a lot quieter behind a weak cold front on Friday. Things get pretty nice. So that's how the in-house modeling looks right now. And this is how the current radar looks. And again, if you're just tuning in right now, we do have some activity in southern Live Oak and B counties, some stuff in San Patricio County as well. And it looks like we're getting some interference, probably from a wind farm. You see how that beam, the radar beam, well, now that new scan fixed it, but sometimes the wind farms in the area will muddy up the radar for how we're looking at stuff. But heavy rain, a lot of lightning in the Skidmore area of B County. This stuff I don't think is going to become severe. And the fact that we've got this group of storms ongoing in this area, our in-house model may be onto something. There's probably going to be a colder pool of air associated with that. So as these storms, oh, I don't want the arrow. I don't want the arrow. I picked the wrong one. as these storms just sit over this area, it's going to lower the available energy in the atmosphere in that location. So as the storms that are approaching, this northern bank of storms are going to have a worse environment to stay strong in as they move into an atmosphere that's already been worked over by the storms currently happening in southern B and Live Oak counties. The storm to the south, so the one in Webb County, this guy has a much better path ahead of it in terms of it's a cleaner road. You're not going to have as your atmosphere is going to be more charged up ahead of that southern storm. So going back to the Futurecast, while the timing of it I had to adjust, the eventual outcome is believable given, you know, the storms that we have on the board right now, where, you know, this northern half of the complex of storms looks a little weaker on the simulated radar presentation compared to, you know, this group of storms, and specifically that bowed out look on the leading edge. That's where, if there's going to be that strong to severe level wind, that's where it would be. And, you know, that's just how our model is showing it, but it very well could play out that way if the current radar trends, you know, hold up. And that's a believable outcome. Just scrolling through some comments, seeing if I can help. That's a good one. Yeah, I haven't mentioned that yet, but I posted it to the Facebook channels. And it should be running on our air that we do have this severe thunderstorm watch. It was up posted 7:10 for the entire KIII viewing area. So that's in effect till midnight, which is about the time the storm should be approaching the coast. So you know, that's there. That is not a surprise. We've been showing this map, you know, all week, I feel like. The severe risk, and we're in that level 2 on a 1 to 5 scale. The main threats, 1 to 2 inch hail and 60-mile-per-hour winds. Remember that this yellow area means that's where the atmosphere is primed for the possibility of a severe thunderstorm. It does not mean that every location in here gets a severe thunderstorm. The coverage on that should be fairly isolated with respect to the strongest, you know, severe level storms, if any at all, make it into the coastal bend tonight. So we've got the weather impact alert going. Really, I could change that, make it 8 p.m. right now through 2 a.m., but I've got it from 9 to 2. For that same reason. This is how the timeline looks moving forward. You know, it's all the stuff we've been talking about for a while now. So while the radar isn't terribly active yet, you know, we're going to watch these two cells out west and see how they develop. You know, let's say this would be bad for my forecast, but good for safety. If that storm wants to go more to the south, it could become the lead storm and rob this trailing cell of a little more oomph. So there's a lot of different things at play, and it's just a wait and see type of deal with respect to how this all unfolds. I feel like we've done a good job with not only the scattered activity that we saw develop today, meaning not everybody got rain yet, and some people did. That's the nature of scattered activity. About 50% did get rain, about 50% did not. So we saw that happen with daytime heating and blossoming up that stuff. Now a lot of that has fallen apart, and the storms we're watching now are more so associated with the arrival of a cold front. They're out preceding that front, and the front is going to help push them south. So we're going to watch those, but while the radar is somewhat quiet in our viewing area, which, we've got some storms now, freer. You're getting close to one. It's not severe, but it looks like that may stay just north of freer. I'm going to go to the weekend outlook because I do want to talk about this. And first up, the weekend to my eye looks great. The weekend looks great. This is that storm chance tonight. You see how our modeling wants to bow that line out, meaning there would be a significant wind threat with that if it plays out that way. Friday morning, we wake up tomorrow, no rain at all. We've got clearing skies and a beautiful day of weather. It's still going to be warm, middle 80s on Friday. A few passing clouds, but the humidity is going to be lower and it's going to feel great. North breeze up, 12 to 17 miles per hour, an occasional gust up to around 20 miles per hour. Now, this is the part of the forecast I want to hit on because this low over the deep south is going to be spinning around counterclockwise, and on that spin and ahead of the cold front associated with it, Gulf moisture is going to be drawn up into that low. Because this moves air around it in a counterclockwise motion, that flow is going to allow wraparound moisture, is what we call it, wraparound moisture, to move into South Texas around the back side, the western side of that circulation. So because of that, as temperatures warm Saturday afternoon, going to be in the mid to low 80s, we're probably going to have, at minimum, a few brief and spotty showers pop up in the coastal bend Saturday afternoon. Now, that doesn't mean it's a washout, but what I'm trying to say is that a brief shower is possible Saturday afternoon. Typically, I'm not that concerned about something like this, right? No big deal, an isolated shower. It's going to feel great outside and we need the rain. But lots of outdoor activities are going to be happening. And one of the biggies is the Wings Over South Texas Air Show. This right here, I had a lot of fun making this graphic. I made it several years ago. So that's the Naval Air Station in Flower Bluff. This would be SPID. That's the Gulf Winds. I've played that a few times. So that's the Oso, and that's Corpus Christi Bay. Just give you reference to where we're looking. That really has no bearing on what we're talking about with respect to the forecast, but just going to let this play out. I had fun with the planes zipping around. I have a C-130 coming in for a nice landing there. And there's the forecast for the air show. So I do have right now the 20% chance for rain, more so into the afternoon with, some passing clouds as well. But because the atmosphere is going to have lower humidity, these clouds aren't going to be super low to where they would make the I don't think we're in jeopardy of seeing only the low altitude show where they're not doing any of the acrobatics. I think that the cloud deck is going to be well up there, 10,000 feet. I've seen some data that suggests a little bit lower, but either way, I think we're good on the air show. The only thing would be is if a brief shower passes over, we're not talking about long amounts of time, maybe 15 to 30 minutes on the duration of that shower. And I don't really see a lightning threat either. So that's what we'd be looking at on Saturday. And, there is that rain chance showing up. I could pull up my just run-of-the-mill stock phone app. Oh, we just got a severe warning. I'll have to get back on that. It's in the viewing area. you know, my stock app shows Saturday, straight sun, no rain chance. I don't, whatever. Saturday, straight sun, no rain chance. So, you know, I'm not sure that it's just straight sun. And I see reason enough to be mentioning a rain chance. So that's that. Back to the radar and the current situation. So we've got a severe thunderstorm warning now. You know what? I've got to go put that on our TV. So I'm going to be right back. I should put a sign up that's, oh, you know what? I can do that. So bear with me really quick. I'm going to go and put the warning up for the TV purposes. Okay. Francisco, yes, McMullen County is in that warned area, but so is Duval County. And that is in our territory. So that's why I'm putting that up. Okay, mic is still good. So this warning is for 1-inch hail, 60-mile-per-hour wind. That's run-of-the-mill. That's typically what we're seeing with these storms. Moving east at 35 miles per hour. I'm just going to check on my own and see. I just want to be, you know, doubly sure that I'm getting the right motion on this storm because I'm going to time it out. So there we are. Start point 1 hour ago. End point. So, you know, I've got 33 miles an hour or so. So 35 is pretty close. That gives you a little more lead time, you know, if you're trying to prep for this. So we'll storm track this at 35 miles per hour. We'll also check the hail on it. Okay, so a 35 mile per hour movement. And I'm not going to go out terribly far. We'll take it out 45 minutes. There's no cities really in this pass. Seven Sisters is, and it's imminent right now into Seven Sisters. So that is good that there aren't any, you know, populated areas, at least on our software, between where the storm is and where it should be in 45 minutes. That's when the warning expires. But 1-inch hail is in there, so let's look specifically at Seven Sisters area. And get a sample on the hail. Okay, nice. Okay, yeah, it looks like the hail core is just north of Seven Sisters, which is north of Freer, extreme northern Duval County. It's right on the Duval-McMullen County line on the Highway 16 corridor. And we're sampling nearly 2-inch hail on our software in that storm. Let's check the wind speeds. '51, '53. Okay, so 50 to 60 mile per hour winds, just a brief sample right there. It's warned for 60 mile per hour winds. So, the idea there is you want to be, you want to be sure you're warning adequately. A little more north, it looks like the winds are a bit stronger. 56. So we're up there. We're close to that severe level. 57. And of course, there's a lot of lightning in this cell. Go back over to radar, get the lightning on it, and pause it real time. So it looks like it'll pass just north of Freer. Severe thunderstorm till 8:45. Northern Duval County, southern McMullen County. And we get that question a lot. I see it all the time. Is the watershed getting rain? We got to know where the watershed is. Once you know and understand where it is, you'll know if it's raining there or not. So I'm just going to pull up the drought monitor that's not going to be updated. So I'm going to hide some of the stuff on it. There we go. That's the watershed. The blue line is the Lake Corpus Christi Nueces River catch zone, and the dark blue line is the Choke Canyon catch zone. So any rain in that area is falling in the watershed. So I posted a really great detailed image from the Nueces River Authority to my Facebook page a few weeks ago. It would be like, I liken it to someone asking, is it going to rain? Is it raining in Texas? Like, we know what Texas looks like on a map, and you know that if rain is falling in the borders of Texas, that it's raining in Texas. So I ask that if you are very often curious about rain in the watershed, if you can just, remember where it is roughly. I don't know exactly where it is, but I know the general region. When I pull this map up, yes, it's very specific. But generally west of San Antonio and northwest of Corpus Christi is where that catch zone is. So when we're looking at maps, we don't necessarily have to put the watershed on every single map out there, because it's hopefully we know gradually over time where that watershed is. So you see the rain falling, it's falling in parts of the watershed. Now, how much it makes a difference in the numbers moving forward, that is something I do not know. I do not know. It definitely is not going to quench all of our problems, but it doesn't hurt. It does not hurt. And we've had several weeks worth of good solid rain in the watershed. The levels are still at 16.3%, but we are getting rain there. So the severe thunderstorm stuff we're talking about now, I'm going to take the lightning off of this. Just get a better idea of what the structure of this storm looks like. And, those purple shades, probably, we were looking at that right over the Duval-McMullen County line, and there is some significant hail in there. There's some big hail, it looks like, showing up on our our hail tracker software right in that area. It's east of 16, splitting the Duval-McMullen County line. 1.5 inch hail. Question from Francisco: what kind of damage does 2-inch hail cause? It could pierce a windshield, dent cars, take tree limbs off, of trees, definitely strip it of some leaves. It can cause roof damage. It can cause, shingle damage, siding damage, depending on how it's moving around. Definitely can break windows. So, it's significant, the hail. When it's, at 2 inches. Right now, it looks like this cell is pulsing down just a little bit in its strength. And it's looking like its cloud tops are around 45,000 feet. So it's up there. We're not talking 50 to 60,000 feet, but, this storm is certainly tall enough in the atmosphere to be yielding hail. And just for reference, the taller a storm is in height, typically the stronger it is. So when you get big updrafts putting water way up into the freezing layer of the atmosphere, or rain, it freezes, and the more times that happens, the bigger the hailstone gets. Question from Abel asking about the tornado risk. It's super low. It's there. It shouldn't be ignored, but the bigger two risks with tonight's setup will be the 1 to 2 inch hail, which we're seeing right now, and the 60-mile-per-hour winds. Those are the two main threats with the activity that'll be happening tonight. So it's looking like these two cells aren't merging, which, that'll be interesting to see how they continue to move to the south and east. And it also looks like they're moving south enough to be out of the influence of the shower and storm activity that's over, centered over the Skidmore area. And right now we just got another flash flood warning for that area. So there's the Skidmore area. Flash flood warning is now in effect until 10 o'clock there. Let's go over and look at the rain estimates for that area. And it's blank. Oh, there it goes. Loaded up there. The rainfall estimates, when we keep mentioning Skidmore, we'll see, where we're at there. 3.5 inches right over the Skidmore area. And that's really within the last several hours. So the flash flood warning is there. The island picked up some rain earlier today. These are just estimates. They're not official totals. But 1.5 inches. There's the canals, about an inch there. Get over to Mustang Island, over an inch there. Flower Bluff area, 1 inch. I'm sure you got more. I'm sure you got less. I'm just looking at just general rain estimates. These are not official totals. Don't at me. It happens a lot. Back to the radar. $8:20 now. 8:19. 8:20 Thursday night, May the 8th. Thank you if you're watching live on any of our streaming platforms, YouTube, Facebook, 3 News Plus. Thank you for doing that. The 3 News Plus app is great because you get this long form coverage, you know, without having to be logged into Facebook. In other words, what I'm trying to say is we'll do these streams and, you know, it'll be great info on just general forecast insight and information, and they live there, you know, contrary to Facebook, where I think they start taking them down after some time. So however you're watching, we appreciate it, as we're following these 2 pretty strong thunderstorms to our west. So let's pan this one out and storm track it again, because we've got the weaker part of the storm, still heavy rain, but now moving into Live Oak County. So we'll just time this out at 35 miles per hour. Take a swig of water. I've been talking for an hour, I think. Time this out at 35 miles per hour. We'll take it out for 1 hour's time and see where that gets us. So the top left of this graphic is where that list now is on the timing. So 3 Rivers, a little after 8:30. George West, 8:45. Cadiz, 9:02. Orange Grove, 9:14. Mathis a little after that, and then Beeville around 9:20. That's where the timeline takes us. And on this cell, the southern cities here, like the Orange Groves of the world, George West, maybe, but more so the southern side of that line I just drew, that's where the strongest part of this storm is. So I'll leave that up for a second, just let it breathe. Again, it's warned until 8:45, which is another 20 minutes or so. Daniel Alvarez, what time does storm get to Corpus Christi? It'll be prior to midnight at the current pace. Prior to midnight. John Goldsmith says he's watching the watershed rise as we talk. Thank you. No doubt beneficial rain. I don't think this does much to move the needle on drought restrictions. I don't think this does much, you know, to move the combined level in a significant fashion, but it certainly helps. We should see a little rise. I don't think it's going to be enough to quench the thirst that the watershed has, but it helps. So let's look and see the guts of this storm. Let's see what the hail core is doing. And the hail core doesn't look as impressive, but still probably going to have close to 1 inch hail. If you're curious how I'm getting that number just by eyeballing it, you see up here that teal shade is around 1 inch, and then a little bit bigger than that, that darker blue shade. So I'll sample the deeper blue, which is right over Highway 59. And, you know, it's 1.1 inch hail right now. It is still warned for another 20 minutes. And I'm starting to see everyone asking about individual cities. I get it. You want to know precise timing on exactly what to expect. I wish I were that good. I really do. but we're going to see a lot of rain move through tonight, and it's going to be before midnight. I tend to focus on the stronger activity and where that is headed. So right now we're focused on northern B and Live Oak counties. I'll just show you the general timeline at 35 miles per hour, given where the storms are right now and their movement, what that looks like. Corpus Christi in the 10 o'clock hour, Rockport 10 o'clock hour, Sinton the end of the 9 o'clock hour, Alice the beginning of the 9 o'clock hour, Hebronville 9:09. That's the general timeline. Moving into Ingleside 10:25, should be at the coast, the leading edge at least, by around 11. So that's how it looks, with respect to the timing of it all. I don't like to just pull it out like that and just do the entire broad brush, because these storms, it's not like it's going to be the exact same strength as it is right now by the time it gets to the coast. It's possible it weakens, it's possible it strengthens. A lot of times these will weaken significantly on approach to the Gulf. I don't think that happens tonight. I think these stay fairly organized as they approach. There's some upper level support at play and an approaching cold front. So we've got two factors working for, storm activity, but that's why I don't, just broad brush everything. I take it, 30-minute chunks at a time and focus on where the storms are going to be, problematic. But we're talking about, when I've shown maps like this or charts like this, graphs like this is for the coastal bend. This is for the coastal bend. So this is for the KIII viewing area. It's not for like Corpus Christi, for Hebronville, for Kingsville. It's like in general, this is how much coverage I'm expecting throughout the region. And little lull at 8 o'clock and then back up after that is what we're looking at. And this, I should probably adjust this. I will before we go back on at 10. I just haven't done it. I can just show you how I do it real time. As I adjust this. But given the current trends, I think we're probably going to see, you can see me moving it right now, that impact alert really start to drop as we head into the midnight hour. So I'm just updating this right now. Less work for me now before the 10 o'clock news. So it's probably going to look more like that on, the timing of it all. I'll even move this over a little bit more to include the 8 o'clock hour. But coverage is not hugely impressive right now. I think it increases between now and, 10, 11 o'clock. Save that, make sure I don't lose it. Back to the maps. Amy Curry asking, why so many random thunderstorms? I don't feel that they're random because we've been talking about this chance for several days now. And we've been talking even about the why on this. We do this on the news. So, I really try and educate and explain why it is I'm saying what I'm saying. And with this particular chance for storms, there's a post on my Facebook page if you want to read it there too. It's upper level support moving in from the west and an approaching cold front that is generating this activity. And that's the reasoning behind why we're seeing these storms. I wouldn't say they're random because we've been expecting them. We have been expecting this activity for several days now. So we'll get to the maps. Just trying to make sure we're all good on the hail on this one, because that probably is one of the bigger threats here. Oh, wind is looking impressive still. Yeah, up around 60 miles per hour on the wind speed in this cell. Let's look at the hail. And you know that there's significant hail there. Very rural part of Duval County, probably about 1.5-inch hail showing up right there. We'll see what the query shows. Little over 1.5 inches, 1.6 on the diameter, and that's larger than a quarter. You know, that's larger than a quarter, probably $half size on the hail. Thankfully, it's in a rural area. Amy, okay, oh, you're asking why twice in one day. Well, we also explained the earlier storms were going to be from diurnal heating or daytime heating, diurnally induced storms. So the storms that happened this afternoon were more so because of just plain old super humid environment and then heating, allowing that air to rise into that humid air, condense, and then rain. So that's also something that we really hit on yesterday. We talked about 2 distinct opportunities for showers and storms. That was the first one. This one we've got right now is the second one. Again, and that is also posted on the Facebook page and was covered pretty extensively last night on our broadcasts. But they're great questions. It's just, you know, I figure not everybody watches or, you know, looks for the information. So because you didn't see it doesn't mean it hasn't been talked about. You know, we do. That's what we do here. We really try to keep people aware as much as possible. Can't help it if you don't seek the information out, though. I wish I could just like take my brain and put it, and then you get it. You know, but technology doesn't exist for that yet. So the severe storm. There's only one now in the area, is in northern Duval County. Let's check on the wind. With this, and the wind is looking fairly impressive. "60 miles an hour. That's why, plus the hail, this storm is severe. Interestingly, though, that's the severe warning. So the 60-mile-an-hour wind is happening outside of the severe warning. That's moving toward southwestern Live Oak County. So that's interesting to see. Very rural part of the county. KIII, that's probably the most populated area that's in line for the stronger winds with this storm. And that's got my curiosity because the wind is stronger away from the bigger updraft in this storm where the hail is on it. You know, the hail core is south. It's in Duval County. We just got another update there. Just going to sample it again. Whoops. Now I hit the thunderstorm warning. Yeah, still 55 miles an hour up there. The hail on it, though, is south, the bigger hail core at least. And it's 1.5 inch hail in northern Duval County. Manny wants the future radar prediction. We can do that. Been showing this several times already. And you know, this is 8 o'clock. We'll start at 8:30, which is fairly close to what's happening right now. We might have to adjust the timing again. It's just, you know, the model isn't going to get exactly the time that it's showing. So we'll just move these more so into like there. It's roughly where they're at. It's not exactly in terms of, you know, that southern storm, our modeling is not picking up its placement very well. So this storm is more so back in here right now. It's not where this simulated radar is depicting. But moving forward, this all comes through. They were talking about it getting to the coast by around 11. There it is. It's possible that the strongest stuff is more south of Corpus Christi. It's possible that the current strong storm in northern Duval ends up being the primary storm, and it's stronger farther north. We're just going to have to see how the radar evolves, but it all moves offshore an hour or two after midnight, and then it's quiet after that. Friday looks like a great day of weather. Problem solved. Amy Curry says that she doesn't watch the news. That's why she didn't know we were talking about all this stuff. I don't know how to fix that one. I don't know. Be like not going to class and then wondering why you didn't know the answer to the test. You gotta seek the info out if you're curious. But I get it. People are busy. I try to do as much as possible on Facebook. So, it's, at your leisure. Also, the 3 News Plus, I'm going to take the time to plug that, because if you are curious for whatever reason, you can see the broadcasts on there. They live there. You can see it. You can see the most updated, stuff we're talking about. You can also go to KIIITV.com/forecast. That's updated multiple times a day by us, and it's tailored to this area. It's got all of our thoughts on it. KIIITV.com/forecast. It's a great resource. So I get it. I totally get it. I don't watch the news either. I don't watch the news either. Regularly. When it's active, I will. I'll tune in when there's stuff going on or there's big stories happening. But I also work here, so I'm already, in the know for the most part. I get it. Oh, bigger thunderstorm warning. I'm going to have to go over and make sure our software has that on the news on our TV. It's the little crawl that I have to make sure is updating. So I'm going to do the thing again where I leave and come back. But I already have it made. Ha! So I'll be right back. I'm going to go take care of this. Whoops. Okay. I'm back. I'm going to do a post to our social accounts, just in case people, not everyone's watching this stream, so I get it. That's the new severe warning. It's a big warning. 60-mile-per-hour wind and, you know, up to around an inch hail. Moving east to southeast, 25 miles per hour. So again, I'd like to do my own check on the speed just to make sure that's what we're looking at. So I marked the leading edge 1 hour ago. Compare that to where we are right now. You know, I see more so 30, so I'm going to time it for 30 miles an hour. And I will put the storm track on this guy at 30. I had it set to 35, so I'm going to change that. Manually draw a line. And I'll take it out for the next hour. And there are the times. Now bear with me, I'm going to type and do some stuff, put it up online. Making sure you don't see what I see, because it would just be me typing. Okay, so I'm going to just type for a second. A lot of counties in this. Okay. Severe thunderstorm warning in effect until 9:30 in parts of Duval, Live Oak, Jim Wells, Nueces, and San Patricio counties. 1 inch hail, 60-mile-per-hour wind possible in this thunderstorm. Moving east to southeast, 25-30 miles per hour. Okay, so that's the post that's going out to the interwebs. And there it goes. Sometimes I make typos. It happens. And yeah, this thing's looking like it's got some pretty significant wind. And one that's not warned yet is the one moving into Duval County, and it's got that bowed out look to it. I'm going to venture to say that there's going to be some significant wind in this one too. Just go to, yes, there is. That's looking pretty impressive. Wouldn't be surprised if this one was warned moving forward. I'm going to just sample it, see what we got. 66. That's going to get warned here probably within the next few minutes. You know, that one's got more wind than the current warned thunderstorm, so be ready to jump on that once it comes out. But that's in Webb County, and that is moving toward central Duval County. That storm probably going to get warned. It's moving toward Benavides. That's a significant wind. That could do some damage at 66 miles an hour. Let's check the hail. Not a ton of hail in that one. And the one that's up in Duval County, it looks like it's weakening with respect to hail, meaning the updraft may not be quite as robust. But it's starting to morph into a wind threat. So, you know, when they start bowing like that, the reverse C, that's when the wind threat starts to look more impressive. And that's exactly what the storm that's moving toward Duval County is doing. So you see that, I keep saying reverse C, and it's that structure like this, reverse C. The wind is funneling in. I'll do a better job of doing that. John Madden's got me beat here on the telestrator stuff. So the reverse C there, and you've got wind coming behind it, pushing it. So you can even see on the returns how the radar returns right in this area are weak because the wind is pushing the rain out ahead. That's why it has that bulged out look. The wind is pushing the rain, bulging it out, and those are strong winds. I'm surprised that we don't see a warning on it at this point. The only warning on the board is that big one for this storm that's moving now into Jim Wells County. So getting questions about bow echoes, fair questions. You know, I wouldn't classify these as bow echoes at this point. We're not seeing classic. I mean, there are symptoms of bow echo, which is very common with severe outbreaks or events in South Texas this time of year. You know, these don't look like classic bow echoes to me at this point, but there's the warning. We just were talking about it. There it is. I'm going to throw another warning or post up. It's got to be for the wind again. You know, we're talking about that, and that's exactly, you know, what I have a feeling it is. 60 mile an hour wind and 3/4 of an inch hail. Moving, we'll just get our own movement. I like doing it that way. So we'll go 1 hour back. Leading edge. 1 hour forward. We got 35 mile an hour movement forward. So I'll put that storm track on for 35. So it's moving a little quicker than the storm north of it. Draw it out, take it out for about an hour. And there's the timeline on that cell. So bear with me, I'm going to post it to our socials. Severe thunderstorm warning in effect until 9:30 p.m. in southern Duval County. The storm is moving east at 35 miles per hour and is capable of producing 60-mile-per-hour winds and 3/4 of an inch hail. And then you see the timeline on it there. We'll send that out to social. So let's check on the hail with this, just confirm we've got that hail in there. Wasn't looking terribly impressive earlier, and it's still not. So it's not looking like a huge hailer. The wind is the bigger threat with that storm. This storm that's in Duval County, if you're in Alice, heads up. If you're in Alice, just giving the heads up, it's still a ways out, but it's moving, in that direction, about 15 miles out from Alice. So, it wouldn't be a bad idea to get your car in the garage, try to protect the car or vehicle with that hail core in particular. If you're watching in the Alice area, I'll show you why I'm saying that, because look at the movement. So my arrow may even be off a little bit. Of there, I didn't look preceding on the movement, but when you watch the movement of it, it's definitely moving southeast, so that puts it close to maybe even San Diego as well on the movement. So like so, that's the movement that this thing's going. Might split the gap there between San Diego and Alice, but San Diego, I would say if you're watching there, take the time to protect the vehicle. It's a good idea when you've got this is dropping 1 to 1.5 inch hail. That's enough to leave little dings on the car, maybe crack a window. I hope this is helpful. I know it's not like traditional TV coverage, just me sitting here walking through the storms with everybody. We have the severe thunderstorm watch through midnight, and we have a pair of severe thunderstorms now ongoing in the region. I'll show you how the lightning looks, and there's a lot of it in those cells. So those are moving in. They're moving toward the coast. How they look by the time they get to the coast, still not a guarantee, but I don't see, but the reason I'm thinking these are going to get to the coast fairly strong has to do with the reasoning behind why these are even happening in the first place. And it has a twofold reason. One, I'll show you what the reasons are. Let me see if I can I'll have to go and, I haven't updated these graphics today, so it might not look the best, but there's upper level energy that's helping get these storms going and a cold front. So yeah, this was yesterday, so I'm going to just have to show you why. And so this was 5 o'clock. This energy out in West Texas is moving toward us. So that's helping generate storms. And then the other thing is there's a cold front that also is helping initiate storms. So as the front moves south, the energy comes in overhead. That's why we're seeing the blossoming of these thunderstorms in the coastal bend tonight. And that's why I think that it's more likely that they continue to the coast. We've got two things encouraging storm development. Dinner tonight, stale Fritos, chili cheese Fritos. How were the games, Chris?
Wet.
They were wet?
Yeah. No, I mean, they're being played now, most of them. Some are being delayed out west.
Yeah, so Chris is saying, is it softball?
Both.
Baseball and softball?
Still out in Freer's, delayed till tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, I think Chris is going to come over here and update us on the sports. I'm going to pull up the main cam. Oh, he's eating dinner. Dinner on an active news night is tough.
Chick-fil-A tonight.
He's got Chick-fil-A. Should we ask him what the Chick-fil-A order is? I'm a nugs guy. I go 12-piece chicken nug with a root beer. So these storms are approaching the coast. So anyone asking questions about, Alice, Kingsville, Robstown, Orange Grove, Mathis, Sinton, Corpus Christi, Rivera, Falfurrias, these are moving in a way that they're going to move through all of those locations between now and about 11 o'clock, maybe midnight at the coast. What they look like as they cross these locations to be determined. These storms here we're watching now are wind producers. There are 60 mile per hour winds in these storms, and they're both capable of producing damaging winds. The one to the south, to my eye, looks stronger. This storm right in there, that leading edge where the reverse C is apexed, that is where the strongest winds are going to be with both of these. So you see how that's more pointed? There's a more defined curve there, whereas this storm is more broad. So, the winds are more focused there. I'm going to just pull up the velocity product and show how they both look comparatively. And you see how the wind is more, they're brighter greens on this cell, and then they're more spread out and dull on the cell to the north. So the winds in this one are definitely stronger. I'm still sampling over 60 mile an hour winds. Oh, wow. Okay. And then 57 mile per hour winds on the storm in Jim Wells County, northern Jim Wells County, approaching that 281 corridor. So you see the wind speeds, they differ a little bit. They're both strong, no doubt about it. But the storm to the south in southern Duval County looks like it's got stronger winds associated with it. I don't know why it's doing that. I don't know why we're just seeing different wind product here. Yeah, that one looks better. So we'll focus on this one. Rialitos, Benavides, you might be a little north of where this stronger wind is tracking, but both locations, Rialitos, Benavides, I'd say be on the lookout for these winds to come through here. And again, this is moving 35 miles per hour right in here. So if we track that, Rialitos 9:18, about 20 minutes. Benavides 9:31, which is about 30 minutes out. And that's how that storm is moving. And it's got 60, maybe higher mile per hour winds in it, according to the radar. Not seeing rotation in this, not seeing rotation here. This looks like straight line wind. This is straight line wind that I'm seeing on the radar with this storm. Go look at the other one. Not seeing rotation here either. That's all straight line wind. So the way I'm interpreting this is the radar's here. Anything in red is moving away from the radar. Anything in green is moving toward the radar. So you've got a wind field that's doing, this, and a wind field that's doing that. Over here, you got a lot of wind moving toward the radar, and then just generally an east breeze out ahead of that storm. If there were rotation, you would want to see really compact, we call it a couplet, red and green dot right next to each other. That would be more of a rotational aspect, but I'm not seeing that in this activity. Going back to the hail product. And you can see San Diego, you might have some pings starting to pick up with this hail core getting close to San Diego. I definitely, if you have a garage or a carport, try to get the vehicle under it. The bigger hail is north of San Diego. The stuff moving into San Diego is not severe level, but still half an inch or so. Okay, yep. Yeah, we're just hanging out, 9 o'clock here. We're live right now. Andrew Bernal asking if it's going to rain on Saturday. I posted something about that maybe an hour ago before I jumped on here about Saturday's rain chance. Feel free to, the Facebook is Alan Holt, just straight up Alan Holt. It's got a blue check mark. But my thoughts on the rain are there, or KIIITV.com/forecast. All the thoughts are there. We don't hide them. Try not to hide them. Try to make them as accessible as possible for everyone to see. But right now, because we've got these 2 severe warnings up, I'm going to stay on this. We got one approaching now, 281. San Diego, you're getting the rain. That's approaching Alice. This storm warned for 60-mile-per-hour winds and the possibility of, looks like just under 1-inch hail on this storm that is moving in the direction of Alice, Orange Grove, and Mathis. We'll put another storm track on this and make sure we're still going. I'll do it a different way. We'll go 30, the last 30 minutes. And then just double it. There, and then to there. So 25 miles an hour or so is the movement on this one. Slowing down just a little bit. Just refresh the storm track, so I'll have to lower the speed because that other one was 35 to the south. So we'll put the storm track at 25 mile per hour forward movement. Draw the line. And we'll take this out 1 hour. And those are the times on this lead severe warned thunderstorm. Warning in effect till 9:30. It is 9:03 right now. Someone says, trust me, we ain't getting nothing. Okay. I don't get it. It's already rained in Corpus Christi today too, so. Anyway, there's the timeline for the current severe thunderstorm moving right over the 281 corridor in Jim Wells County and southern Live Oak County. Orange Grove, 9:27. Skidmore-Tynan, about 10 o'clock. The Mathis area, 9:47. Alice, 9:17. So around 10, 15 minutes for Alice. And there is some strong wind with this. It's warned for 60 mile per hour wind. Hail doesn't look terribly impressive. It's gone down a little bit, but San Diego, you might be getting pea-sized hail in San Diego. Now it looks like under the severe threshold, and that's a sign of a little weakening still. Go back to the radar velocity product. See how these are moving. And still some pretty robust winds in southwestern Duval County, 60 mile per hour there. And this is heading toward Rialitos, Benavides. And then the other one, all straight line wind. This is all straight line wind. I'm not seeing any type of, rotational aspect with this. Waiting for the scan to come in. I don't know why this is happening where it's acting like this, but if I loop it, it's fine. It's near 60 miles an hour, moving over 281 north of Alice. Go back to the radar. And yeah, you see the storms, they're moving east-southeast, and they're going to be approaching coastal counties fairly shortly, probably during the 10 o'clock hour, moving through the coastal counties. So we'll be, I'll have to log off of this at some point and start getting ready for our 10 o'clock broadcast. A little sign of what's called a bookend vortex off the top end of this storm. In Live Oak / Jim Wells County, and this is the area I'm looking at. That's that bookend vortex. So I'll loop this so you can see how it looks. There's just a little hint of that, and that's a symptom of a bow echo, that bookend vortex. It's not classic, but it's there. It's showing up, and this would not be classified as like rotational aspect with respect to tornado genesis. This is more on the backside of a bow echo. So yeah, that area is what's making me look at that. And what can happen with that is that vortex can push wind out. It can bow that wind out and make that reverse C shape. So, let's just look at the wind and see what that's doing. If it's coinciding, let's say the strongest wind would be in northwestern Jim Wells County. If we were just to look at how the radar imagery looks only. And there it is. There's the strongest wind with that cell in the same place that bookend vortex is showing up, right in there. That's where the strongest wind in that thunderstorm is, and it is, that sample is 46, but we just looked at it and it was up near 58, 60. Okay, back to the other storm while we're on the wind product. Rialitos, you're going to get into some gusty wind here within probably the next 5 minutes. And then 10 to 15 minutes after that, it'll be Benavides. And this also is that wind coming in, pushing out, bulging out the leading edge of the storms. Just looking at radar stuff on my own, I use Radar Scope, and I can I'm fluent with it. Just a radar app that I use. The velocity that we're using, this is from IBM WSI. This is it's called MAX. It's a program that's geared toward showing weather data, and this is notable. Alice. Heads up in Alice, there's a hail core that is going to be very close to you in probably less than 10 minutes. So if you're watching in Alice, hail looks fairly imminent in Alice. Question not really relevant to, the storms happening. The question is, why does it look like an anvil top? And the answer to that is the storm is getting so high in the atmosphere that it's hitting the tropopause, which is the top of the atmosphere that weather happens in. Then you get the stratosphere. But the troposphere is where the weather happens. And when it hits the stratosphere, it's the tropopause, that transition zone. And that's where the atmosphere's capped. So the air can't rise anymore. It spreads out up top, and it gives that anvil look. It's a good question. I'm sure some of the storms, here are doing that. I'm just focusing on Alice now. We do have, this storm bearing down on Alice. And the hail has ebbed and flowed. It's going down, it's going back up, it's pulsing. That's pretty common thunderstorm behavior. But 1-inch hail going to be possible moving into Alice very shortly here. You see how that movement is going. So, if it continues that southeasterly movement, it's possible that parts of Alice get clipped by that cell, that hail core. Let's go back to the radar, because right now Alice is about to start getting rain, but the hail core, it's lagging behind a little bit. So starting to move into Alice. Rain, 281 corridor, just focusing on Rialitos. You're getting into that gusty wind now. The leading edge of this storm is starting to move up against the 359 corridor in Duval County. And this is starting to look a little messier, still strong, but we'll see if they can link up, these two storms. Go back to the hail product. So on radar, the reflectivity, to my eye, it would look like the hail core is between San Diego and Alice. Contrary to what our product is indicating. So between San Diego and Alice, there's the purple shades on the radar here, the reflectivity. That is probably where that hail core is. I'll switch back over to our hail tracking software, and that's where it's showing up. So it looks like, to my eye now, that Alice is going to be, for the most part, north of it. That's great. I can't believe it split the gap there between San Diego and Alice. I don't want anyone getting damaging hail, but it's still showing 1 to 1.5 inch hail. And you'll see the movement on that. So San Diego probably had some smaller hail, but the bigger stuff stayed north of San Diego, and it's now tracking south of Alice. That's good. We don't want to see that fall in big areas. But Ben Bolt, you don't want it anywhere. But Ben Bolt, heads up in Ben Bolt. This hail core is moving in your direction. It's moving right at you. So south of Alice into Ben Bolt, hail is coming. It's very close to you right now, and it's continuing to move. I think we last tracked this at 25 miles per hour. So, it's 6 miles out. I'll do a special storm track just for this hail on Ben Bolt. Let me make sure. Oh, I don't know what I just did. Oh, Alan, come on. I hit escape on accident. Got to redo everything. go get a timeline for Ben Bolt. We got some Ben Bolt viewers in the house. Okay, so in Ben Bolt at 25 miles per hour, this hail core gets to you by 9:27 or so, which is 10 minutes. So in 10 minutes time, hail looking more probable in Ben Bolt. Okay, so heads up, Ben Bolt. 1-inch hail moving in that direction. And you see how these storms are moving. Again, they're now on the 281 corridor, moving through Hebronville. Hebronville getting shower and thunderstorm activity. The two strongest cells in the viewing area are the one in Duval County, southern Duval County, and northern Jim Wells County. Big winds now moving through Alice. Big wind now moving through Alice as we track this severe thunderstorm. Warning for another 13 minutes. Probably going to get extended, just seeing how it's behaving. I'll show you the wind in Alice. 60-mile-an-hour winds moving into Alice. That's strong. You know, you could have some tree damage with that. You see that wind looking really strong moving into Alice right now. 72 on our radar. 72 mile-an-hour winds showing up on our velocity product, moving into Alice. 67 mile-per-hour winds south of that, moving toward Ben Bolt. So this storm has pulsed and ramped up in its intensity over the last 15 minutes or so. And that's why I caution against just taking them when they're 100 miles away and just broadly sweeping through the area. They pulse, they weaken, they strengthen, they dissolve, they amplify. They are just, it's nearly impossible to predict them, more than 30 minutes or so out in time when you have severe type situations. They're not just going to stay the course and not change. So this is a big one. This has got a lot of wind in it. So Alice, you're getting into it right now. Alice Acres, Ben Bolt, you're going to get into this here in a few minutes. I'll sample this again. 76, 75. That's strong wind moving into Alice right now. Someone asking or saying Corpus Christi thunderstorm warning. There are no warnings right now in Corpus Christi. There are no warnings right now in Corpus Christi. The yellow polygons are where the current warnings are. Corpus Christi is under a severe thunderstorm watch through midnight tonight. So that's where Corpus Christi is with respect to the ongoing showers and thunderstorms. Up to the north, I've neglected y'all. I'm focused on the strong stuff, but moderate to heavy rain. All of B and Live Oak counties and most, if not all, of Refugio County is getting moderate to heavy rain. But this is not strong. The stronger stuff is down to the south. And yeah, this cell that's moving now over Alice and into Ben Bolt, I'm going to get that hail tracker back just to stay on it. And I'm only going to have maybe 10 more minutes of doing this real time. I'm going to have to go get ready for the news. Maybe I can push it to 9:45, but So there's the hail core. There's Bend Bolt. You know, it's getting close. You're going to start hearing little pings when it starts to hail if you're getting it in Bend Bolt. Alice Acres. I'm getting 1 inch hail, it looks like, with slightly larger hail to the south. The storm in Duval County does not look like a hailer, but there is 60-mile-an-hour wind with that one. At least right now, not a hailer. We'll see how it moves, moving forward. It's good advice from Cody Benavides. Highly recommend bringing your animals inside, especially if you're in the hail area. Good advice there. So we've got dual pretty strong thunderstorms. They have not, merged together, and that's keeping them both fairly robust. They're on their own, both of them. We're not seeing them link up just yet, but it's trying to do that as it presses toward the coast. This is going to move all the way through the coastal bend. This isn't just going to go away. So, we're expecting this to move in, and I'm going to get a timeline on that. I'm going to just time it out. So 30 miles an hour. So I just did a half hour back, so 16 miles, 30 to 35 miles an hour. I'm going to go with, I'll go with 33 at 33 miles per hour, just to see what that gives me on the timeline for all of this. Again, I'm not as focused on the storms to the north. There is heavy rain, but the stronger stuff are the two warned storms. There's occasional lightning up there as well. So I'm just going to time this cell only. And move it, move it toward the coast and see where it puts us at 33 miles per hour. So at 33 miles per hour, given that east to southeast movement, the timeline is as shown on the left side of the graphic. Alice already getting it. That's incorrect. I have it set the wrong 30 minutes. Let me do that again. Yeah, and this is out an hour and 40 minutes time. So we're way out there in forecast timeline. But to give an idea, based on the current movement of the storm, Mathis, 9:45, Robstown, just before 10, Gregory, Portland, 10:37, into Corpus Christi. That is for I want to say that's for the airport. So Corpus Christi, probably around 10:30 or so, another hour. And then at the beach around 11. That's the leading edge of it. So it'll last for longer than that, but that's when the initial wave comes in based on the current movement. Yeah, a lot of people now saying that they can see lightning in places like Odom, Corpus Christi, Robstown. And yeah, you're definitely going to be able to see that. It's getting darker out and the storms aren't too far away. The leading edge of the storm is about 40 or so miles from Corpus Christi. Sinton, you're about 30 miles out. New severe warning. They're saying this is moving southeast now based on that warning. This is going to be a fun 10 o'clock broadcast. I can hear y'all over there.
We do need sometimes for sports. News, not so much.
So we've got a severe thunderstorm warning. The new one now is, this is showing nearly 80 mile per hour winds moving through Jim Wells County. That is significant. The warning is showing for 1-inch hail and 70 mile per hour winds, and the storm moving southeast now at 35 miles per hour. So that's close to what we were measuring. We said 33. They just rounded up to 35. And this is now for sure the stronger of the two thunderstorms that are on the board. No doubt about that. And I'm seeing wind. Yeah, I'm going to have to post this to the socials really quick. I'm going to allow that other warning to expire and then post that. Let's sample the wind. And that bright green, even teal color, that's where the strong winds are, the strongest winds are, right in here. So that's where I'm going to be looking when you start seeing numbers pop up. 83 mile an hour winds. So that's enough to do significant damage to, trees. You can topple like poorly built sheds, trampoline. Alice probably had a ton of wind. We were talking about it coming through Alice. Probably a ton of wind in Alice. I would venture to say 70 or so on the miles per hour in Alice. Let's look at the hail. And Ben Bolt, it's passing just north of Ben Bolt. So this hail core has been dodging, the populated areas. That's good. I'm sure there are houses or structures that have been getting hit by this, but it looks like Ben Bolt, you're getting clipped. No doubt, you're getting clipped. 1-inch hail in Ben Bolt, but it could be worse. It could be worse. Up just to the north of you, it's a little bit bigger on the hail size, 1.1, 1.2 inches, which is, it doesn't sound like much, but when you've got something, falling out of the sky, you want it to be as small as possible for, the sake of mitigating damage. Okay, Yazzie gets a yes. So that's the thunderstorm warning. Everyone inside the yellow polygon is under that warning. So parts of Corpus Christi, like Cal Allen, you're in the warning. If you're west of the airport, you're in the warning in Corpus Christi. But Crosstown area is not. Flower Bluff is not. And everywhere to the east right now is not. We're getting additional warnings. That's a bigger one. We might have to cut in here because the wind is getting a little bit stronger. I'm going to be right back, see if I can get us on the TV. My mic is hot over here, just FYI, everybody. We've got a significant wind episode unfolding. I'm gonna just get some info out here. I'm gonna push some info. I don't see where some of our staff are, but this is a significant wind threat now. Seeing 80 plus mile per hour winds in this. Okay, that's warned for 90 mile per hour winds. Can someone help get Hav ready to do a cut-in? Can someone help with that? Yep. Thank you. Yes. I'm going to go out to the mini desk. I'm going to leave this up and running, and then I'll get out there. I'm going to just do a post to web. Okay, thank you. So I'm just doing a quick social post. I'm going to leave the radar up on this stream. I'm going to go over to the newsroom and do a cut-in for live on air. This is a significant wind threat now. 90 mile per hour winds on this thunderstorm. It's moving again toward Nueces County. It's now in Nueces County, moving toward Driscoll. And the Robstown area at 90 mile per hour winds in this storm. So could do significant damage. Moving east at 40 miles per hour. So I'm going to just leave this up and go over to the news. And I'm going to do a TV cut-in just to get as much awareness on this as possible. So I will be back here. And you'll probably see this move because I'm manipulating it on air. But I'm going to just, I've got to go and get this out. I'll be right back. The mic on this is hot. FYI, the mic in here is hot. I don't know how much it picks up.
right, appreciate you.